What's up, you guys? It's PhiDX, and in the UK, Red Bull just ran this event called Pin Drop. It is the first that we've seen of a bunch of new Tekken 8 gameplay features. We got customization, we got arcade quest, all these things. But the big thing, I think, is we got a breakdown of practice mode from arguably the king of practice mode in the pro scene, Joey Fury. Joey is not only a very analytical player, but he is known for developing drills and sharing these in public on Twitter. He has historically tried to get people in the lab and show people how to practice effectively. And I know this is a big issue for many people, including myself. When I hop into a new game, I want to hop into ranked. I want to hop in and play games. So what I think is really great is Joey Fury is not only going to break down how the practice mode works in Tekken 8 and how you can use it, but he's also going to share some really cool philosophy on kind of how to balance practice mode with the fun and enjoyment of the game. And I think it's really worth watching. I'm going to let Joey speak, and I'll react to some specific moments, of course. But Joey does an amazing job of explaining this, and I think it must be highlighted. Check it out.
Talking about optimizing yourself, we definitely want to learn, and we've got one of the best players in the world with us here to take us through how you can improve. Welcome, Joey Fury, to London, my friend, my brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Joey, so you saw the My Replays and Tips feature right now, yeah? I mean, give us your thoughts quickly before we get started and what you're going to do. What do you think about this feature?
It's revolutionary. It's game-changing. I was thinking as soon as they announced this, whoever can really make the most of it and get into this mode and figure out how to improve themselves with it, it's going to give them a tremendous advantage. We've never seen any feature like this in the game. It just allows you to improve on situations that you'd probably never really be able to recreate in practice mode, or at least not easily.
So he's talking about the replay feature. They have a brand new replay feature in Tekken 8. We'll probably do a separate video on that, but it lets you basically capture moments in your matches and re-simulate them, where you can jump back into the game at the exact moment where you got hit or you've missed a punish. You can recreate the game and control both characters. So that's a groundbreaking feature. I think it deserves its whole separate video. But Joey's going to talk about just the regular practice mode where you can do most of your learning.
Had there been situations like that where in Tekken 7, because obviously, I mean, we know you're a lab monster, you're very analytical. Are there times where you were just like, man, I wish I could just get back into that and try something?
So the main thing with that is setting up specific angles or situations that are rare or difficult to recreate. So that's definitely a factor. Another thing is sometimes you're just a bit confused about what your opponent actually did to you. Maybe their character's a little unfamiliar, and this way you can get essentially access to exactly what they did to you. You don't even have to really figure it out.
So yeah, because obviously Tekken is a 3D game, there's many different angles. Because the move lists are so big, there's so many different situations. You got different pushback traps, wake-up traps, wall angle traps, things like that. And even for someone as analytical and diligent as Joey, who is trying to recreate situations, it can be really, really hard and sometimes even borderline impossible to recreate a situation that happened in a game. The new replay feature, again, separate video, actually captures that specific moment and re-simulates it. So he's saying it saves a bunch of time there.
It's going to show it for you.
That's it. Well, I want you to show us something right now, sure. Joey Fury. We have the practice mode showcase, ladies and lads, and who better than Joey to show us and take us through the Tekken 8 practice mode. So I will hand you this controller, Joey. And, again, you are one of the best players in the world. You just came fresh off the Tekken World Tour finals. You were so close to that top 8. Talk to the people at home who want to improve and just tell them, is practice mode important? Is it something they need to be using?
Extremely important. If you're coming into this game new, this is the mode that you really have to familiarize yourself with. A lot of people immediately try to dive into matches and go into ranked, and that's obviously extremely important. But what this mode is going to allow you to do is have time to think about what's happening. Rather than this overload when you're in a real match, there's going to be so many attacks thrown at you. So it allows you to take things one move at a time, one sequence at a time. So yeah, we can start talking about the new features that are here. And
so Joey hit a beautiful point. He says it gives you time to think and time to process. Joey and many other pros who are very analytical, like thinking-based players, will always say that tournament time, ranked time, competition time is flow state. You cannot be in a full problem-solving mindset and execute combat, like reactions and movements, high APM stuff. Just the entire flow of combat is too fast for the active brain. So Joey will always say you need to be in flow state, you need to play almost by feel. However, that feel, if you don't have it automatically on instinct, needs to be cultivated in practice mode, where you can think, theorize, and problem solve. And he'll show a bit of how he does that in a second.
And the old ones that you should be getting familiar with.
Yeah, definitely, man. Show us how to optimize, and of course, there's so many options, right? So walk us through this right now, Joey.
And the Tekken 8 practice mode is so different, so that's why he's kind of doing this breakdown.
All right, so what we noticed right away that they've changed, actually, is there's this separation between offense and defense here in training mode. So you're gonna have this like loadout of options here if you have offense set for training mode.
Right.
And you can switch to defense. It's gonna set a whole bunch of new ones. So let's take it one at a time.
Yep.
We have offensive training mode here, and right below it, opponent actions. So this is how they're going to start to respond to you. So if I have them set the standing, they're just gonna stand there, and I can practice whatever attacks I want on a completely vacant character. The third option here, though, is I can get them to respond. They've actually clarified this. So it used to just say action 2.
Right.
Now it says action after a hit or a block.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. You know, if I have them set to standing first, I hit them, I attack again. The second action, they're immediately going to block.
Right.
And there's even some new stuff here. You know, if you're returning to this game, if you see these options here, the one that I found most interesting so far is this option punish.
And this is
I haven't actually seen that.
Yeah.
So what it will do, there's a loadout underneath it where it says punishment settings.
Hey, wow.
So whatever I do to the dummy, the training dummy, I can make it immediately retaliate with whatever option I set. So for instance, let's just record something.
So Joey is controlling the character on the right, character on the left does the 1-2 string, and then Joey gets to record the punish he wants to choose. This is nice because Tekken, in when you're labbing some Tekken situations, sometimes you want to not lab your opponent attacking and then you doing something. You want to do something and see how the opponent can respond, right? Sometimes you could do a move that has like a pushback trap. You want to test their punish, right? As a result, that lets you test like a counter situation. Like say they're slow on their punish, you can do a quick duck and launch. There's a lot of options here that are really, really cool. And this new punish training or punish action lets you skip the step of going back to character select, picking your opponent's character, and then doing the reverse action against yourself. It's like, this is a huge time saver.
So we're gonna record this movement. Now, whatever I throw at Kazuya here, he should.
I think you have to jab and then down forward.
Gotta jab him first.
And so they mess up some of the settings here. They're just gonna have to recalibrate that. Or like reset it.
Let's,
So he has to go back here, change standing to standing block.
Yeah, see the new features right now. We're still trying to. Oh, okay.
I
After the jab.
got it. There we go. Okay, so I did a little late.
So
Yeah,
Kazuya
yeah.
responds here to the down forward 2 block with the action that was recorded. Down forward 2, back 1-2. But Joey recorded it slightly late. That's why it didn't punish.
There we go. Okay, so I did a little late.
Yeah.
You can see the idea.
Right.
You can get him to retaliate immediately. Maybe even just a little learning curve there. But super interesting that this is in the game now.
So how much do you feel that pros are actually going to use this practice mode?
I mean, a new game is like they're gonna live here.
Yeah.
You have to live in practice mode. You know, the big thing when
Takes a lot of work.
I'm teaching anybody
pro.
Tekken or when I'm coming to this new game, my mindset is like, it sounds so simple, just learn the moves. Learn the move list. And this is the place you have to go to be able to pull up those move lists and just one by one figure out all of the moves, everything that you're going to be subjected to on defense.
Yeah.
We go a little bit through the options on the left. We've got the practice settings, but we've got restart settings, display settings. I mean, these are all things that are returning, right?
Yes, these are all returning things, but there's even new stuff here. I think, Spag, you and I were talking about there's a really big one that they've added here, and that is, remind me, I think under status record
This
here.
one is colossal.
So
this
we
feature's
have it set to
amazing.
use, remind me where to go here.
You've got to go to the back to the main screen of the practice mode, and what you do is you see at the bottom it says remember. Yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah, right down
you'll see
here,
at the bottom
it
there's
says
this new command. It says remember. So what the game is doing is remembering your XYZ positions of the characters wherever they are on the stage. So I can, dash to that crazy wall angle, whatever is difficult to recreate. and you press the center button in R2. It asks you to record the status. You say yes.
Move away. Like, let's move away a little bit.
So we can get real far away. I can hit him, get way over here.
Yep.
But that original position that I remembered is now the restart setting, which is really.
Okay, did you see that? I know I sneezed.
Position
So
that
look
I
at this.
remembered.
He moved around. He remembered a different position, and when he hit reset, he went straight back to where it was remembered. This is huge for combo artists.
The restart setting,
Huge
which is
for
really
wall-specific traps and combos. This is a ridiculously incredible feature. When we get to use this, all the new combo artists are gonna be like, I think they're gonna be amazed. They're gonna think like, how did we do it before? They used to set it up with specific back dashes, forward dashes, set the opponent to do a certain thing just to get the right angle to set up a crazy combo. So this is amazing. I love this feature.
really crazy. So this will allow you to recreate a lot of awkward situations, or even just lab-specific combos without having to do that, like, all right, I got to get back to that spot on the stage where I wanted to do this combo. You can just get right to it. So it's super cool that they've added this.
I think that's going to be huge for combo video makers.
Definitely
for combo video makers.
But also it has
combo guys
practical
out there, I really
applications.
enjoyed that one. But yeah, Joey Free, is there, like, we see just a few more of the options there on the left. Is there anything? It looks like we have the combo challenges, so you can actually practice your combos now. There's challenges in the practice mode at this point.
These are little trials.
Yes, so it looks like there's 11 challenges here for Jack. You know, they're gonna keep going up in difficulty as you go through. Just a really good thing, like particularly for newer or intermediate players, just to work on execution and feel out the combo system. They give you, these trials here.
What I'm curious about is how this is different from the sample combos, right? Because the sample combos should ideally be the same thing. So I'm not sure. I guess the challenges are structured in a way. Like the first few ones are really easy. I saw this in the beta. It like teaches you just a basic heat burst, basic heat smash, rage art, whatever. I guess they don't want to pollute the sample combos with those kinds of things. But otherwise they seem similar to me.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, right? So how do you use the combos? So we know
This might be the most valuable part, I think. I think he's about to talk about how he uses practice mode, Joey Fury personally.
there's new characters, right? Let's say you're practicing versus a new character. What do? You have the game now at this point. Let's just say you have the pad. What are you doing?
So I would probably immediately go to an infinite stage. Well, Yakushima is probably the biggest one right here.
Stage selection is there, so let's go to it, man. Do what you would do, Joey.
To start, I would want as much space as possible, keep things as simple as possible, not like involve walls right away or potential obstacles. I would just want a lot of space. So let's go to this big open stage.
Let's head to the Yakushima. And then we can teach these guys what you would do. How are we practicing versus these characters? What are you doing?
So you want to talk about combos or just like breaking down this character?
Well, yeah, if you want to do anti stuff, anti versus, I'm struggling versus Kazuya. What do I do here, man?
This might be the most important thing. Like, everybody wants to go into practice mode just to see how to stop losing, right?
Okay, good question. So that is where we want to open up this defense section of training mode. Right. I like that they've specified that for you. It's just kind of intuitive to head right there.
Yeah.
So if you're returning to this game, you'll notice that there are a lot of CPU opponent actions here. There used to be 5, there's now 8. So what this allows you to do, we'll just start with the first one. It gives you these options, select from move list or record. So select from move list, I open up my opposing character's move list. It gives me every option of attack that they can throw at me, and I can just set one. And if I'm learning a character, I basically start from the top. We'll kind of like skip this heat burst here because that's a universal option.
Right.
But just this idea of curiosity, open up the move list and like, what is this move? What does it do? So you set it there in this first loadout, and center button plus circle gets him to play. And now I've got Kazuya throwing this attack at me, and I'm just kind of like observing what's going on here. I have mid-high status. You can see the frame data on the side, how it's neutral frames, so nobody's at advantage, nobody's at disadvantage. And there's a lot of different ways.
Sorry, my thing is covering. He's talking about down here in this bottom right.
Is that you can start thinking about how am I going to deal with this move. This one intuitively, mid-high, block the mid, duck the high. And so there's like just one facet of his move list I found an answer to. And then you would kind of just go down the line.
That's it.
Next, right? Very systematic, one move at a time. Set them to throw it at you, try to find an answer. Once you found a sufficient answer, go to the next one, right?
So this is probably going to be a challenging part for many people who just want to go in and play the game. They don't really want to stop losing to the same cheese, things like that. I love that Joey talked about it from the perspective of curiosity. He said, I just genuinely want to know, like, what is this like? What does this look like? I think there's a spectrum of approaches here. Joey's is obviously going to be some of the best for retention and developing intuition and instinct. Now, something I will say is that I don't think it has to go this extreme. Approach I loved that I heard from another pro, from SpeedKicks, is he, when he was first learning Tekken Tag 2, recognized there was so much he had to see and there was so much he was going to learn in combat. So what he did, instead of testing his memory to this degree, would go through the whole move list and go through each character's moves. I believe he said twice, but for me, it worked well going through 3 times. And the idea was that he didn't need to learn the perfect defense for everything. He went through, saw the move once, and then like blocked it once, and then spent the third one just punishing it and moving on, right? So now I may be incorrect. It may have been the very first time he went through the move list, he did what Joey did here and actually looked at everything to develop the answer. But at least going through the whole move list, seeing it 3 times and seeing each action and then moving on will at least get the bare minimum recognition so that next time you're in game, you could say, hey, I've seen this before. I remember that's a high. Let's duck it, right? Hey, I've seen this before. I know it's unsafe. Let's punish it. It kind of, there's not an expectation, I think, that you get the perfect punish or the perfect answer the first time you look at it. And I think that's a nice balance between playing and practicing. That said, the worst thing you can do in this situation is to look away from the problem. Like, you don't want to get hit by a move over and over, look at it in practice mode one time, answer it one time, and be like, I'm good, right? That's how you get, instead of 30 minutes of practice, that's how you get 2 years of a Lucky Chloe problem, 2 years of a Josie problem, 2 years of a Katarina matchup problem, right? Like, I used to take a very lackadaisical approach, trying to just do the bare minimum to get it done and just to say that I did it. But in reality, you're trying to reprogram, rewire your brain to respond to what you see on the screen and change your action in response. And that takes time. It takes time. Now, given not everybody's going to go pro, not everybody's going to work that hard, but I think it's beautiful that Joey shares his methodical approach and frames it from the place of curiosity. I've ranted enough about that. Let's keep going.
That's very interesting. I mean, and of course, like you mentioned, now 8 as opposed to 5 actions, right? So you can, I guess, start mixing up the options as well. Like, you know, you could maybe try to train your reactions. You said, you know what, I've seen you do this before on stream, Joey. It's like, I'm going to set this person, and the record function, which is quite interesting as well, right? You can just set them to change up the timing and do other things. And you have 8 of these options now to record.
So this is something I'm particularly excited about because, yes, this is something that whether you're learning the game, whether you're a pro player, you want to set, you know, several options in practice mode and have that dummy just throwing them at you and countering them as you see them. And the max complexity really was 5 attacks at a time, which can be pretty good, but obviously when you're training for a real match where there's dozens of options at a time, sometimes you want more than that. So now you can overload yourself a bit harder, up to 8 options, and that's just going to be a really great way to train even harder.
Wow. I mean, how significant do you think that's going to be then? You said it's going to be a great way to train, but is it big as a Tekken World Tour competitor like yourself, knowing the kind of competition you're going to face against? Is that something that's going to be like, this is going to make this, for me, way more efficient?
Yeah, I think it's huge. So when you have 5, you know, a lot of like the idea of designing a defensive exercise, it's like a duckable string, a seeable low, something launch punishable, something moderately punishable, and then maybe like a command grab. So you're getting many different aspects of your defense tested. But now you can go way deeper than that, right? You could have 2 duckable strings, you could have the full loadout of command grabs. There's so many different ways that you can essentially build like a difficult exercise when you have 8 loadout options in defensive training mode. So it's really big.
One thing he didn't mention too is I like that with 8 options, you could feasibly lab an entire stance without reprogramming. Right, so you put the opponent to do their offensive stance, and you can start to develop option select defense or smart defense that takes into account every option, and it's the most convenient way to do it. So 8 options is amazing for that. The other thing is he talked about building a defensive exercise. That's not just memorizing the options, right? That's part of it. The other part is because he's talking about reactable low, small punish, big punish, duckable string. you're not just memorizing these options and these answers, you're reprogramming your brain. I mentioned that a bit earlier, literally programming it to respond and sharpen and pay attention to different things. And it's not just one character you learn it for, you got to redo it the whole time. The more you do it with one character, and then a second character, and then a third, the easier it gets for your brain to expand it. That's why pros can defend against a new character. Yeah, you cheese them once or twice, and maybe they hit practice mode way less than you do, right? But it's not because they're automatically good at it. It's not because it's just like raw talent. They've spent the time doing these kinds of exercises for all the other characters. So you add one new character, they know how to do the exercises, they know how to train their brain, and that kind of exercise just falls into line sooner. It's easier. So it probably will feel really hard for the first few characters if you guys are new to this, but it is so rewarding. I think it's really, really rewarding to get really good at this kind of skill, if it's the kind of thing you enjoy, okay?
Characters, especially in them stances, we've seen Reina, she's probably got about 8 options out of those stances. So yeah, definitely want to get all of those up on there and practice your defense.
Joey, is practice mode going to be the first place you go when this game is out? Is it straight to P mode, or are you jumping online? What's going on? Tekken ball a little bit with the jack?
I feel like there's like 3 types of people. Like there's type of people like straight to ranked, right? Yeah. Start climbing the ladder. There's type of people that are like Tekken ball, straight to the fun. And me, I am the nerd that wants to go right to practice mode and see the numbers, the properties, and just nerd out. So I can't wait. Can't wait to use this mode at home.
Well, while we have you here, Joe, you are going to be in an exhibition later on, right? Yeah. So, I'm sure you've had a little bit of time to do I saw you in the practice mode before as well. How are you feeling about that? And, what are you thinking, man?
There's so much here. Like, I got to play some of the amazing pro players here, and right away, like, you're just getting hit by new stuff, stuff that you haven't seen before, and it's like fun and overwhelming at the same time. Like, oh, that's new, like, but immediately after I played Super Akuma's Lee, I was like, got to go right to practice mode. How do I duck that string? Or like, what is this? So
is that desire to that need to know? I need to know what happens.
It's a lot of the fun of playing this game in general, and particularly a new game. How you're going to be tested in completely new ways. Yeah. And you just creates that motivation. Like you just want to go and explore, and solve the things that are unfamiliar.
Joey, as one of the best players in the world, phase up on all that, I'm saying, you're killing it, you're doing the thing, it's traveling all over the globe and that. Is there any advice you can give to the people watching at home who are hopefuls, who are people who do want to, come up the ranks and start competing? Of course, Tekken 8 is going to bring...
This one's really important, okay? This one's really, really important.
A big influx of players, hopefully around the world. What advice could you give them, wisdom from your years of experience?
So this stuff that we're talking about here with practice mode is great. I think it's something that a lot of people bypass when they're opening up the game because it can be very overwhelming, and it's also tends to be solitary, so it's not as
fun and social.
Can be not as much fun or as social, but it's very important. And then at the same time, there's that other side of things where making real connections with people who want to learn the game with you and guide you along. That was what kept me here for so long. People I met in the arcades in like 2004 when I was a little kid, and I'm still friends with now. It's sort of those 2 sides of the coin, like the solitary practice that you have to enjoy that process. You have to find the fun in it, the curiosity, and then the other side of really just making friends and finding training partners, people who want to learn this game with you, because it's important to practice by yourself, but you can't do it all by yourself. There's just no way.
Final question, Joey. I will let you.
So that's huge. He talks about, yes, it's a solitary act, and part of the fun in fighting games is meeting other people, playing the game, competing. But so there are a couple ways to alleviate that. It's finding genuine curiosity, finding the fun in improving how I feel, not the memorization part, but actually feeling my body and mind get faster and get more adept. That part is really fun to me. That's what gets me into practice mode, because I am the most lazy player when it comes to practice mode. Okay, I hate discovering the options, I hate memorizing the options, but I love feeling myself get better. And that collaboration can help, because there are some people who love exploring that kind of thing. They love documenting different options and all these things. So I think those people have a place together where people who compete really hard or enjoy that mental improvement and physical improvement can really enjoy linking up with the people who are studious, right? It creates that kind of community vibe. And then the studious people have people who appreciate their work and can like get big milestones. A lot of the people who are kind of like in the lab, like studying like that, may not have competitive aspirations themselves. They might, but many people that I've met through this long time playing Tekken, there are plenty of people content to just study and have fun studying, right? So I think there's a lot, like Joey puts a lot of merit there in meeting up with people, linking with them, and kind of learning together. If you guys have ever gone to the gym and you meet, or like you go to the gym with a buddy and you guys like just share the fun and getting stronger or discovering new form things or like getting more optimized, there is something so infectious and intoxicating of just that shared experience. And I think when it comes to practice mode and labbing and like the boring stuff, it really helps finding a community. And I'll let the rest of the interview play, but one thing I want to say on that is that there are so many pro players who are so accessible these days. And it's so easy to kind of disqualify ourselves from the conversation. Like, oh, they won't want to talk to me, things like that. But a lot of pro players, especially in Tekken, are pretty accessible. You at them with an honest question, a legitimate question, kind of well thought out, and not just like, how do I beat this matchup? But like, yo, I've been trying this. How do I do this? That was how I made connections in the first place playing this game. I entered a bunch of online tournaments and I asked a lot of questions. I tweeted about my thoughts and people started noticing and paying attention. I think that the FGC unfortunately has some reputation of being really gatekeepy or really exclusionary. And in my experience, the really, really best players tend to be more accessible. Show up in their streams, ask like decent questions, show up and vibe. Don't just kind of show up, ask a question and then leave. But show up, hang out, and if you're there for a long time, people will start to notice, people will start to be really gracious. I know a lot of my friends who don't go to tournaments, don't stream, they're not clouded up because they're good. They just hang out in people's streams and they are such a vibe that when they do ask questions, everybody wants to help them. So that's my little rant on that. Let's see the rest of the interview.
But final question, because this is something I've heard a lot from a lot of people. Is there a skill level that you need to get to before you start going offline to try and play?
I guess this ties in.
People say, I'm not good enough to go offline. I'm not good enough to go to these sessions, and I need to get better first. Is there a skill level or not?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there is a skill level. There's so many great players around the world in every community who are willing to help and guide you. And, that's not like a wishful thought. I mean, I've experienced it firsthand. Yeah. And that's what I try to do for a new player is really just kind of adapt to their level of understanding and try to help them along. And I see so many people in this community who are willing to do that. There's just so many friendly, wonderful people. So however good you are, however much you know, it's never too early to start making friends and playing the game.
That's it, man. Yo, wisdom from Joey Fury, brother. There we go. Thank you so much, Joey, for joining us here and giving us your insight and your wisdom. And, I'll let you go now and prepare for your exhibition that's going to be happening later, man. Thank you so much. And, Bubsy, talking about exhibitions.
Yeah, so wisdom is a great way to put it. Joey has been around in the scene for a long time, and he's seen so many people, and he brings a really good point to that. And I think it's crazy that I went on that little rant, and it happened to line up with that. I'd forgotten that that's what he said. But no, yeah, I've known many of the people in the community who, like me included, try to meet pros by paying for coaching or donating a lot, and obviously that's really nice. But I've also known an equal, if not greater, amount of people who show up and just hang out in the Twitch chats, hang out in the Discords, be polite, pay attention, find a nice mix of saying some things and then keeping quiet when you have nothing to say. It's a weird balance, and all of us are gamers, right? So some of us really struggle with that kind of thing. I know I do. I'm really, really bad at that kind of thing. So, but it's been cool to me to show up in the FGC. I'm lucky that I ended up being a streamer and people wanted to talk to me and stuff like that. But I've been impressed and amazed meeting these other people who just show up and just kind of vibe, and everybody wants to help them. It's a good time. So that was kind of a mixed bag, how to use practice mode, how to get into the scene as a beginner, and how to find the fun in practice mode. I think this was a very, very valuable interview from Joey. I'm so glad they had him on for this on Pin Drop. And because of how in-depth and long it was, you can see why I didn't talk about that replay feature. So we'll do another video on that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave a like if you did. Please leave a comment if you think I missed something or if you want to share some of your own experience. Or leave an emoji if you have nothing to say. That always helps me out a lot. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.